Well, the countdown is underway. President Trump has announced his time frame for making a decision on attacking Iran's nuclear program.
Meanwhile, Israel is keeping up its attacks on Iran's military and working to protect its citizens from Iran's missile strikes. Chris Mitchell reports the story from Jerusalem.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt delivered the president's message.
Based on the fact that there's a substantial chance of negotiations that may or may not take place with Iran in the near future, I will make my decision whether or not to go within the next 2 weeks.
Early today, an Iranian missile struck a residential building in the Israeli town of Beersheva. On Thursday, Iran hit a hospital in the same town and a residential neighborhood in Tel Aviv. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visited the site of the hospital.
We're targeting military sites. We're targeting nuclear sites. We're targeting missile sites. They're targeting a hospital. In this hospital, there are patients who are immobile. They can't even move. Right next to it is a children's ward, a baby's ward, infants. They targeted.
The IDF suspects at least one Iranian missile carried multiple warheads or cluster bombs. That could create a problem for Israel because missiles with multiple warheads can pose a more difficult challenge for air defense systems like Israel's Iron Dome. The IDF continues to destroy Iranian missile launchers many times just before launching. Netanyahu addressed whether or not President Trump will decide to enter the war.
President Trump will do what's best for America. I trust his judgment. He's a tremendous friend, a tremendous world leader, a tremendous friend of Israel and the Jewish people.
Netanyahu added the U.S. is already helping a lot in defending Israel by helping to destroy incoming Iranian missiles, drones, and UAVs. Meanwhile, Israel continues its relentless bombing campaign, including hitting the Iraq heavy water reactor. Military expert, former IDF Major Elliot Shoda marvels at what the Israeli Air Force has accomplished in less than a week.
This is unprecedented, and it's not a word that I use lightly, because it was not only taking out their air defense capability, but much more the complete clearing of what is the only battlefield today, which is the air battlefield. And so this is a one-front air war that we've never really seen anything like this in the Arab-Israeli conflict, but nothing on this scale where we, once again, have basically cleared the skies for the Israeli Air Force that's operating at will over Iran, allowing us to pick and choose our targets and damage and destroy them at will.
But Shoda believes Israel may still need what the U.S. has in its arsenal to destroy Iran's deep underground nuclear facility at Fordow, including bunker-busting bombs and the planes to carry them.
The one thing that Israel absolutely does not have is the strategic bomber capability that the B-2 and even the B-52, but certainly the B-2 provides. Somebody asked me recently, why doesn't Israel build its own bunker busters? And the answer is because we don't have any aircraft that can carry it.
In the U.S., crowds celebrated in New Jersey as former Israeli-American hostage Idan Alexander came home, a little over a month after he was released from captivity in Gaza. But for now, here in Israel, the goal of wiping out Iran's nuclear program remains the top concern. The White House says Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a couple of weeks if Ayatollah Khamenei gave the go-ahead. Now Israel and the world await President Trump's decision on potential U.S. involvement. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Well, CBN's News senior White House correspondent Kelly Wright joins us now. Kelly, you were in the room, in the briefing, when the president's decision on Iran was announced. Did you get any sense of how he might be leaning?
I got no sense at all of how he might be leaning, but let's look at what he's stated all along, dating back all the way to 2011 before he even considered running for president. He has said then, and he says now, that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. He wants to do what's right for all people, particularly the Iranian people who he has stated publicly that he loves. He has friends who are Iranian. He wants to actually negotiate a peace deal with them. He is holding out hope that within the next 2 weeks, before that deadline of his decision is made, that they can get to the table and negotiate. Steve Witkoff, his Middle East envoy, is still working on that. Look, the president has made it very clear, Gordon, as you know, that he gave them 60 days to broker a deal. And on the 61st day, when the deal was not brokered, Iran came under heavy attack from Israel, and now we're here talking about it today.
Is that what you're anticipating, that 2 weeks will go by? Iran's already said we're not negotiating, we're not giving up our nuclear program. I don't know if that's just posturing, but if 2 weeks go by and there is no negotiation, at that point in time, are you anticipating the U.S. intervenes?
I don't want to speak ahead of the president or for the president. He has already publicly stated that no one can get inside his mind. He's meeting with his National Security Council today and throughout the weekend. He will be examining everything, getting all the information. I think what the president is actually doing, Gordon, is giving Iran's regime time to actually look at what's happening around them and realize that they are in a precarious situation. As the president has said publicly, Iran is not going to win this war. And the president knows that, and he knows that we have the bunker-busting bomb that can take out Fordow and other places that might have some sort of nuclear buildup. The president has made it abundantly clear Iran cannot pass this threshold of being able to activate and enrich uranium and actually start having a nuclear weapon, because he knows, as the commander-in-chief of the United States military and America, and one of of course, the greatest leader on the planet right now, he is the man that everyone's looking at, including China and Russia and Iran and Israel. This president knows the weight of his decision, and he knows what the outcome would be depending on how he chooses. He's choosing peace right now to settle it diplomatically, but he knows he has all of the military options on the table.
The political field seems to be quite fractured, both within the Republicans, the conservative movement, the MAGA movement. We're hearing all kinds of shrill voices. Before Israel attacked, there were predictions it would be World War III and that Iran would drag us into this quagmire. Then you've got Schumer on the Democrat side. I think he obviously wants Iran to have no nuclear weapons. He wants to protect Israel, but his own party seems to be divided against him. How fractured is this landscape? And after a decision is made, how likely is it that people will come together?
Let's look at it this way. We've been dealing with Iran for 45 years, as you know. It goes all the way back to the time that the Shah was deposed and taken out of office. And then, of course, the Ayatollahs came in to reign and rule. And their first operational foray into diplomacy was actually kidnapping and holding Americans hostage. So for 45 years, the world has watched Iran terrorize the Middle East, as well as Israel and even America. Americans have been killed because of the proxies of Iran. The President of the United States knows that. Members of Congress know that. They will have to make up their minds to come to some sort of conclusion to stand with the President, depending on what his decision will be. And they will have the vociferous debate on Capitol Hill. But the President knows what's at stake. And those who are actually disagreeing with him before the decision has even been made, the president has stated through White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, who just talked to us yesterday in the briefing room, that to his base of supporters to trust him in his decision making. And that same message is being sent to members of Congress. Members of Congress, again, the Foreign Intelligence Committee, the Armed Services Committee, they know what's at stake here. They know that Iran has been a bully throughout the Middle East. They know that some of the Arab states that the president just recently visited are against Iran having a nuclear weaponry as well, even though they're not publicly stating this. The bottom line is Americans are now looking at something that's very clear and in their face. Iran has to be dealt with diplomatically, or as the president has indicated, all options remain on the table.
Do you think the White House believes that a diplomatic solution is possible? In that question, I want to point out that the UN ambassador from Iran is the one who led that attack on the U.S. embassy back in the 1970s. We've already heard the Ayatollah talk about Khyber, and that's an obvious signal to the Muslim world that he's not negotiating. Does the White House think that a diplomatic solution is possible?
Again, I would be getting ahead of myself, but the reporting is that the president is still holding out hope that they will have common sense, is what the president talks about, common sense in American government and common sense for the world. He hopes that the Iranian leaders will suspend their appetite and curb their appetite for nuclear weaponry to inflict harm on Israel, its Arab states, as well as the United States, which they believe is the great Satan. But I think realistically, those who are advising the president, they know what's at stake here. They know that Iran will not capitulate unless they are forced to, because that region of the world recognizes a strong man. Let's be clear, in all of the reporting that has been going on about Iran for these past 45 years, we've seen a walk up towards this moment that Iran could have a nuclear weapon, arm itself, and then take out its hostilities on Israel, which they declare to be the little Satan, and then ultimately aim at the United States. There's also the threat of terror cells. So the president is looking at all of this. And again, I would be getting ahead of the president and ahead of the reporting if I were to step in to actually speak on behalf of the White House or what this president is thinking. He's already put on Truth Social, the Wall Street Journal doesn't know what I'm thinking. No one knows what the president is thinking except Donald Trump right now. But you can be sure that he has watched this for years, Gordon. He understands, just like we're talking very clearly here, what's at stake. He's praying about it. He's trying to get wise counsel. I think he's moving slow and deliberately, holding out hope that Iran's regime will do the right thing and stop its penchant for having a nuclear weapon and come to the table and negotiate. If they do not, I think the answer will be abundantly clear with the way that Israel has conducted its campaign against Tehran and Iran, that this president knows that the next step would be taking out Fordo. And we have the weaponry to do that.
Kelly, thank you so much for the insight. You have a front seat in a obviously historical moment, and we look forward to your reporting as it breaks. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you, Gordon. God bless you.
Let me give you some, I guess, biblical perspective on where we sit right now. When you look at Ezekiel 38, a lot of people are looking at Ezekiel 38, and ever since October 7th, they've been looking at Ezekiel 38. One of the conditions of Ezekiel 38 is Israel has to be at peace with all of her neighbors. That has not been the case since Israel was started the modern state was started in 1948. So that precondition isn't there. But we are in historic times. If the terror regime of Iran is overthrown and they elect or choose a leader that says we're not following the path of terrorism, we're not going to fund Hamas, we're not going to fund Hezbollah, we're not going to incite the Shiite-Shia divide in Iraq, we're not going to do these things anymore. That brings peace to the entire Middle East. That is unbelievably significant, something I didn't think I'd see in my lifetime. But we're at a point in history where it's now possible. It's not just, some dream. It's right in front of us. Let's pray for our president to have wisdom. Let's pray for Israel, the peace of Jerusalem. Let's pray for Netanyahu that he would have wisdom and the strength and resolve to realize where we are right now. And we are at a turning point in Middle East history.